Thanks for tuning in to The Rachel Hamm Show, where you'll find the inspiration, encouragement, and tools you've been craving. Be sure to hit subscribe and give this video a quick like. Now, here's Rachel.
Hi there, this is The Rachel Hamm Show. I'm Rachel Hamm. Thank you for joining me today. Okay, so I've had a series of dreams that I wanted to talk to you about, but I feel like I need to give you a little backstory so that it makes sense as I share about the dreams. So when my kids were growing up, for a few years, they were able to go to a little Christian private school, which was mostly a blessing, but also there were some bullies in the school. And when we first arrived, we had met this family, and the parents and my husband and I were all like the same age. And we each had 4 kids, and we each had 3 biological kids, and our youngest was adopted. So we kind of had a lot in common, and our kids were all about the same ages. So we hung out with them from time to time, and a lot of the sports things, like we were both at all the same sports things, and our kids were playing the same sports and all that. And at first, it seemed like it was great. It was such a blessing. But then one of our boys ended up having a lot of health problems, actually. And for about 6 weeks, he was not himself. He was just kind of like depressed and anxious and physically ill. And we ended up keeping him home. We thought maybe he had mono, and we thought all these different things. And so we were at the doctor's office, and the doctor asked, which I had an amazing doctor, amazing pediatrician. He was not conventional. None of my doctors are conventional. I'm so thankful God has helped me with that, because I hate medical stuff, and especially now what we know, right? It's like such a blessing to have a good doctor. And he was a really good doctor. So as we're trying to figure out what's going on with our son, he says to our son, who was 6 at the time, he says, "Hey, let me ask you a question. Is there anyone at school that's not being nice to you?" And when he asked him that question, our son looked down and kind of like looked toward the corner of the room. And our doctor said, "Yeah, that's what I thought. Why didn't you tell me about that?" And I felt bad as a mom, because I'm thinking, wait a second, how did I not know that there's someone at school being mean to him? And why did I not know to ask that? And I was feeling a little insecure about my mothering in the moment, but quickly just was so thankful that he knew to ask that. And my son proceeded to burst into tears and tell him about this little boy who was being so mean to him. And it was this family. It was their son that was the same age as him. And it was this family, that they had 4 kids, we had 4 kids, all that. So, so we proceeded to then, we were talking about it as a family. And as we were talking about it as a family later that night, one of our other sons said, yes, this other child who was one of that family's kids has bullied me, and went into telling us all of these things that kid had done. And there were terrible things. In fact, some of them I thought, it's so mean and kind of unusual bullying, that it was kind of hard to believe. Like, it was like, surely that can't be like what's really going on. In other words, one of the boys was telling our son, who was 6, was telling him, my mom makes fun of you. And when we see you guys, she always makes fun of you about how stupid you are. And she always says that you tell jokes that you think are funny, but they're not funny, and that you're so dumb and all this stuff. And sorry, George is at my feet, and George got snipped yesterday. So he's got that cone on and it's kind of funny. So I'm just making sure he's not getting to his stitches. But anyway, so he was saying that his mom was basically making fun of our son. I thought, that's a weird thing for a kid, a 6-year-old, to tell another 6-year-old, my mom makes fun of you. It's like, it's kind of weird. It's like psychological warfare. And is it true? Like, I thought for sure it wasn't true. Well, we ended up talking with the mom, or I ended up talking with the mom and told her what was going on, kind of like, hey, I'm sure this isn't true, but this is what has come up, and told her about both things. Like, but our 6-year-old was saying what the older son was saying. And then I told her, he specifically has said that you are making fun of him. And she said that it was true. And it was kind of a little bit mind-blowing, hard to even, really believe that an adult is sitting here telling you, I make fun of your child. Oh my goodness, George, stop. I make fun of your child, and it's true. And not only that, but I help my kids figure out ways. George. Oh my goodness. Sorry. He's trying to scratch himself, but he can't get to it because of the cone. So here, I'm going to show you him real quick, just so you can see little Georgie boy. The cone of shame. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, he got down. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, here, let's see, George. Okay. You get up there. You get down there. Okay. So anyway, the mother acknowledged that she was doing that and that she had helped her kids come up with ways to be mean to my kids. Like, unbelievable. And she had been pretty nice to my face up until this point. And so I was quite taken back, and it was like, why on earth would you do that? And she said it was because our oldest son, this is when I realized kind of how psychotic this family was. She said that our oldest son had made a fat joke about her oldest daughter. And I ended up learning they basically have eating disorders, and she has trained the daughters to have eating disorders. She was obsessed with being thin, mean to her girls about being thin, which is ironic because the way one of her daughters ended up rebelling against her was by gaining weight, which is kind of funny. So she's she's fat, which I could care less that she's fat, but the mom hates that her daughter's fat. And that was the way her daughter punished her. So it's kind of funny in a way. And it's only funny because they're mean people. So I said, that really doesn't sound like my son. What did he say to her? What is it that he said to her? And she goes, well, my daughter was jumping on a diving board, and your son said, be careful or it's going to break the diving board. And I was like, okay. And then what? And she's like, that's it. But he obviously was implying that she was fat. And so I was like, okay, I'll ask him about that, thinking there's got to be more to this story. And the fact that was it. That was the whole thing. And that she said, from that point on, I have helped my kids figure out how to hurt your kids. So mine's kind of exploding, right? A mother is sitting here telling me I have been trying to hurt your children, and I've been helping my children hurt your children. Okay, so we ended up talking to the school about it, and basically realized we were not going to get any help with this situation because the grandmother was on the school board, and this family was very involved with this little private school, and it was they had a lot of power. And so the power that was in place wasn't going to help us because, those people give a lot of money, and they kind of control how things are done. So we realized we weren't going to be able to really protect our kids and keep them at that school. And at that point, we pulled them out of that school. So it was crazy though. It was crazy to really see, this is truly a bully, someone who is mean, is intentional about planning how to hurt you, how to hurt your kids, and is actively trying to make my kids feel like they were stupid, they couldn't play sports well, they no girls liked them, whatever, all these different things they had done. And it was really evil. It was really evil. So now, fast forward, this last week, I have been having a series of dreams about that mom. That mom keeps popping up in my dreams. And when she pops up in my dreams, it's usually some sort of spirit that is attempting to intimidate, right? She represents a bully, a mean, evil, intimidating spirit that is intentionally trying to make me or you or whoever, whatever the dream is about, feel less than, feel bullied. And so I've had these dreams where she keeps trying to make me feel like, I don't look good enough. I'm not smart enough. I am not talented enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough friends. I'm not enough in every way, whatever. It's been different things in different dreams. In one of the dreams, it was really interesting. I was driving down this street, and all of a sudden, a big semi truck that was an Amazon, a blue Amazon truck, like an 18-wheeler, I guess it would be actually, comes flying up next to me and then like skids around and blocks my path. And it's her driving it. And she's looking down at me, like glaring, like letting me know she wasn't going to let me get past this point. Now, I'm not totally sure why she was driving an Amazon truck. I feel like there was something about that, something significant about it, but I haven't been able to figure out what it is. So if anything comes to you guys, let me know, because I thought that was interesting. I even wondered like if it was something about like the enemy trying to intimidate us and make us feel like we are like there was going to be supply chains blocked. I don't know. I wasn't clear. So if you think of anything, leave it in the comments down below and let me know what you think that might mean. But in each of the dreams, it was something different. But the thing that was the same through all of them was an attempt to block me, bully me, sabotage me, and get into my head and make me feel like I couldn't do whatever it was that I needed to do. And in the dream, it was kind of effective, right? Like bullies are good at making you feel like it's true. You're not enough. You're stupid. You feel small. You feel insecure. You feel whatever it is they're trying to make you feel. It can be a pretty effective thing. That's why they do it, right? And so I felt like the Lord was wanting me to tell you that the enemy is really setting out to bully us right now. And that the Lord is asking us always, the Lord calls us into intimate relationship with him, where he guides us into different things that he asks us to do, and leads us into, shining brightly, making a difference in the world, being kind, being who he's called us to be. And that the enemy was actively trying to make you feel like you weren't enough to do whatever it was that God was asking you to do. And you weren't enough to succeed, to prosper, to shine brightly, and when the enemy does this, it's subtle. It's not like, he doesn't stand in front of you in a long black trench coat with an evil grin telling you you're not enough, because then you would know, oh, this is an evil person or an evil spirit that's trying to intimidate me. It's not going to work. That's not how it works. It's that subtle, quiet, still just little thought that comes to you that feels really true. And it doesn't feel like it's the enemy. It feels like it's just true. Just feels true. And I hate when bullies get away with what they're doing. And so I really wanted you to know the enemy is trying to bully you. Even if it might be even about beliefs, like he's trying to bully you about what you believe, or bully you about, I don't know, it's probably different for each of us, but what is he trying to bully you about? What is the enemy trying to make you feel about yourself, or about things that you believe, or whatever? What is he trying to make you believe that, now that you think about it, it's just a bullying spirit? It's not true. Or maybe there's some truth in it, but still it's not the highest truth. The highest truth is that you can do whatever God calls you to do, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the truth, the highest truth. I can tell you that I have been dealing with an intimidating spirit, or the way that it has manifested it from my life, and that spirit that is just trying to get me to not move forward, is with doing my show. Like I have messages, and then I feel like, oh, it's not that good, or I don't know how to put it together in a way that is compelling and interesting for you. And I don't know. And there's all these thoughts, which it just feels like it's my own thought. It's not like I'm like, oh, that's an intimidating bullying spirit. It's like, no, it just feels like it's just true. You can hear and feel the things. And I have just been really struggling with that, like struggling with, especially since I got into the car accident, because I had the concussion, and I feel like I've just dealt with so much brain fog and pain in my body. So I feel like I'm a little bit like kind of weaker right now than I normally have been in the past. And so that weakness just has made me feel vulnerable. And then I get these intimidating feelings of like, that it's true that, oh, I'm not that good. Oh, you know, I'm not as good as this person or that person or whatever. And it's been hard. It's been hard to overcome it and to do it anyway. And so I experience it. I certainly experience it. And sometimes when my kids were growing up, I dealt with a lot of kind of that intimidating feeling of, not being a good enough mom or whatever. I don't know, just a lot of that, especially with school stuff. I don't know. I always felt like I struggled with school and helping them with school and like I wasn't as good as the other moms, and I wasn't a room mom, or I wasn't doing what the other moms were doing, or the other moms would sit at all the school practices and I'd be like, heck no, I'm dropping them off at practice and leaving. And then I'd feel like I wasn't as good of a mom because they sat there and watched their kids practice every day. And I had 3 other kids and I was bored out of my mind sitting there watching sports practice every day. So I didn't do it, but then I'd feel insecure, and that spirit would tell you, that you're not as good as the other moms in some way. And I just think we all have dealt with that. We've all dealt with that intimidating voice that comes against us to shame us, to make us feel like we're not worthy, we're not good, we're not as good as someone else. And it's hard. It's hard to overcome it. I also felt like the enemy was going to present false information, kind of like, like how we've been seeing these videos and these pictures that are fake, where people can like put a voice, like use this voice recognition software or whatever it's called, not recognition software, but the software where it generates someone's voice and it really sounds like it's them and it looks like it's real. Like that's what the enemy is doing with us. He's presenting information to us and it's like, wow, that it seems right. It seems true, but it's not. It's a deep fake. I think that's what they call them. Okay, so I want to tell you a funny story though about this bullying family. When we were at the school, we had, obviously we were going to leave, but we were finishing the school year. And so we had told our kids, listen, just stay away from these kids as best you can. Just have nothing to do with them. Try to stay far away from them so that we just don't have any problems. And so they don't have an opportunity to be mean to you and whatever. So that was the plan. We're going to finish the school year, but just stay away from them. Well, we would go to sporting events and our youngest son, Ezekiel, was only like 4. He wasn't in school yet. And so he and the youngest kid from the other family used to play together at all the games. Like during the football games, they would run underneath the bleachers and play and whatever. So he's only 4. He's not totally able to discern the fact that, like we're going to not play with them. We're not going to hang out with them, but we're not going to also tell them what our plan is. Well, he didn't have that. So we had gone to the school for an award ceremony and we'd walked into this building and my husband and I and Ezekiel walked in on one side of the building at the exact same time. The opposite door directly across from where we walked in had opened and that family had walked in. Well, Noah, the youngest son, yells over to our son Ezekiel, like, hey, Zeke, come on, let's go play. And he's yelling across the whole building where everyone can hear and see. And there's nothing wrong with what he said. So it's kind of cute. The award ceremony hadn't started yet, So he yells, hey, Zeke, come on, let's go play. To which Ezekiel cups his hands and yells and says, no, my mom said I can't play with you because you're a bad kid. And everybody kind of looks and I am like, oh my goodness. So then Noah says, what? And Ezekiel goes into the same thing again. No, because my mom said at that point, though, thank God I was able to get my hand around his mouth and make him not finish the sentence. Unfortunately, a whole bunch of people had already heard it. And some were kind of laughing and some were kind of giving us a little bit of a look like that's not appropriate or whatever. But we wanted to die. because it was embarrassing. It was funny, true, not true. I hadn't said he's a bad kid, but whatever it was that that's how Ezekiel was interpreting whatever it was that I had said. And he was letting everyone know, no, my mom said I cannot play with you. You are a bad kid. Good times. Good embarrassing times as a parent. So anyway, back to the bullying. The enemy's trying to make you feel like you're not enough and make you feel afraid. And specifically, as we look at our country and this election's coming up only a few weeks away here, and the things that we see that are so concerning, the lying, cheating, stealing, manipulating, it's kind of shocking and stunning to me how much Kamala Harris appears to just be completely comfortable with lying, just flat out lying. I mean, she has said so many things that are very clear, concise, like, I am going to stop all drilling and hacking, or not hacking, what's it called? Fracking. And now she's like, oh no, yeah, I never said that. It's like, well, it's on tape. You did say it. You said it real clearly and strongly and in no uncertain terms. But she appears to have just no trouble saying, yeah, no, I never said that and I'm not going to do it. Like, clear conscience to just totally lie, right? So it's concerning as we look at what's happening in the country, and there's lots of other things, but you already know the things, right? All the things that are so concerning that are happening. It feels like the enemy is trying to just make us all feel all the bad things. Like, I'm going to win. He's being a Goliath. He's yelling and, hitting his chest and mocking us. And so I really want us to be the Davids, obviously. I want us to be the ones that rise up in courage and not stupidly, right? But in wisdom, in what we're led by God to do, taking on the battles that God asks us to take on with courage. And I was thinking about in the past, in the world wars where the Nazis were, doing horrific things to Jews. And we know and have all heard the stories, the Anne Frank stories, and the different stories of these heroic, brave families that chose to hide the Jews. And that's who history is written about the brave, right? Like we read those stories and we so admire the ones that were willing to rise up and take in the Jews and do the right thing, even though that would have been a very scary thing to do. And it would have required so much courage on their part, so much bravery. Talk about bullies. I mean, the Nazis were the biggest bullies ever, right? But in the face of those bullies, there were those brave ones that rose up and did the right thing. And that's who we admire, and rightfully so. But what about the ones that didn't? Think about that. Think about being a German family with a Jewish family that lives next door to you. You're friends, you love each other, all is well. And then this war breaks out, and suddenly you're not allowed to, do anything with Jews, and they're going to kill you if they find out that you have done anything with Jews and have helped them in any way. And they're coming looking for the Jews. They're coming house to house looking for them. And your Jewish neighbors come to your house and they knock on your door and they say, please, can we stay with you? Will you hide us? There were those that looked into those Jewish friends, neighbors' eyes and said, I just can't. I mean, they'll kill me. They'll kill my family. I can't risk what it will cost me to help take care of you and to help you in that way. It's just too much of a risk. I can't do it. And they shrunk back in fear. We don't want to read about those people in history, but they exist. They exist. But we don't read about them because their life didn't matter. They made, what's the word? The opposite of bravery. They shrunk back in fear and were self-absorbed, because not having courage in that situation is very selfish. And then imagine later those German neighbors who said, no, no, I can't. I just can't. It would have cost me too much. What if I get killed? What if I get hurt? What if they come after me? What if they find out that I'm hiding you and then they'll kill us all? And, just no. Imagine being them and finding out later that your Jewish neighbors and friends who you loved and wanted to help, but were too scared to. Imagine hearing of their fate, of being put on the train and driven to Auschwitz, where they were slowly starved to death and stripped naked and humiliated and tortured. And then right as they got to the end of their already almost over life because they've been starved to death, almost to death, then they were put into an incinerator where they were lit on fire and burned to death because you shrunk back, because you were scared, because you weren't brave. Imagine how costly that would be, finding out that was the result of your fear. That was the result of you not choosing to be brave, and then having to live with that. I don't know about you, but I really want to be counted among the ones that are brave. And I've done that to the best of my ability. I've made the decisions that I need to make that require bravery, and I've done them anyway, which, I like how people talk about that being courageous and being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means that you're afraid and you do it anyway. So it's okay to feel those feelings of fear. The enemy is gonna, throw that at you, and our own human spirit is gonna bring up everything that could go wrong. And it's normal to have the feelings of fear come, but what we have to do is choose to not give in to them, choose to rise above them, and choose to be brave. I want to read this definition of brave to you. Okay. Brave. Definition of brave: having or showing mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. Having or showing courage, a brave soldier, a brave smile. And I was thinking about how much God hates cowards. Or not hate, I don't want to say he hates cowards. He hates cowardly behavior. And I just think it's so interesting how being a coward is listed in the book of Revelation. I've talked to you about this before, about like one of the worst things. It's so interesting to me. I would think there'd be so many other things that would be considered way worse, but God feels differently. In Revelation 21, 7-8, he says, those who are victorious will inherit all this. And then that's in quotes, all this. And I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and the liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. Isn't that interesting? I think I've always thought it's so interesting that being cowardly is among like kind of the top things that he highlights that of people who are going to hell. I mean, it's really interesting. So what is all this, right? That he says, the brave will inherit all this. What is all this? Well, it says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there were no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life. Those who are victorious will inherit all this, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowardly," and that's when he goes on into the ones that are going to hell, those that are going to be thrown into the fiery lake. So, so God really wants us to be brave. He really wants us to be the German neighbors who say, "Yeah, I absolutely will take you in. I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I hope it doesn't cost me my life. But even though it might, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it." I think sometimes over these last, I don't know how long it's been, maybe 15 years. I don't know. I don't really know when this started, but it's this gospel of like overly graceful, where it's kind of like, it doesn't matter if you're sinning. Like this younger generation really like seems to think it's totally fine to sleep together, even though they're not married, and just kind of live wild and not like have any kind of godliness. And there's been this gospel of kind of like just grace, 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 grace. And obviously, we are all saved by grace and believe in grace. But there's like this over grace, like this over, like where it doesn't matter what you do. There's no call to godliness or holiness. It's like an anything goes, and it's all good. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. And it's concerning, right? It's like the pendulum went from hell, fire, and brimstone, and scary and condemning and hyper religious, to swinging way too far the other direction, and now being like, anything goes, and it's all grace, and it doesn't matter how you live. But I want to read this scripture to you that I think we kind of like have forgotten about. And it's about the judgment seat of Christ that we all are going to stand before. We're all going to stand before Jesus and give an account for our life. And like, as the German neighbor, I want to be able to say, "Jesus, as I stand before you, I want to let you know I took in my Jewish neighbors, like I didn't shrink back. I was courageous in the United States of America as things got really rough. I want you to know I rose up. I did what you asked me to do. I stood up for what was right. I was protective of the weak among us. I looked out for the orphan and the widow." And so let's read the scripture about the judgment seat of Christ. "For we live by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and would prefer to be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So we make it our goal to please him, whether we are at home in the body or away from it. For we all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due us for the things that we do while in the body, whether good or bad." That's 2 Corinthians 5, 7 through 10. And so what's interesting is that, it says that we're all going to give an account, and that we're going to receive what is due us based on how we lived. And I think that's important to point out because of this hyper grace that we've been living under. It's not true that like it doesn't matter how you live and anything goes and whatever. You could technically be forgiven for everything, but we're going to receive rewards in heaven based on how we lived. And I don't know about you, but like when I'm in heaven and I am standing before Jesus giving an account for my life, I really want the best reward possible. I mean, right? Don't you? Don't you want to be able to stand before him with a clear conscience and not have to say, "Yeah, I shrunk back there. I knew that was the right thing to do, but I was afraid. And so I shrunk back," and have there be some sort of reward that was available for us that we don't get because it's based on what we do. It says, we're going to receive what is due to us for the things we have done while in the body, whether good or bad. Wow. I mean, as I think about that, I want to be greatly rewarded. And I want to be able to stand with a clear conscience before the Lord and know that I was very brave. So, what I want to tell you is when your eyes are saying to you, you're screwed, what I want your spirit to say is, I will be brave. I will be brave. And I think we're heading into some tumultuous times. I think no matter how the election goes, we're heading into some tumultuous times. And we need to be brave. Brave to do the right thing. Brave to speak up when we need to. Brave to protect those that need protection. Brave to trust God and to really believe the things that he says, that he will never leave us or forsake us. Brave to believe that, because it takes courage to believe things that we need to believe. And will you do that? Let's say this. How about this? Will you be brave for just 1 month? Starting today, just for 1 month, for 4 weeks, would you be willing to be really brave? Maybe even there's something that like you normally wouldn't do, but because you're being brave for these 4 weeks, you're going to go ahead and do it. Will you do that? Will you choose to be brave? Bravery is contagious. When you see someone else being brave, it gives you the courage to go ahead and be brave too. And so I want to encourage you to consider saying, yes, you will be brave for just 4 weeks. That's all you have to do, just for 4 weeks. And then in 4 weeks, you can reevaluate and decide if you're going to keep on going and continue being brave. But as you choose bravery, people around you will be inspired. And even if they never say anything to you, they'll admire you. And history is written about the brave. And fortune favors the bold, right? That's a saying. It's a cliched saying because it's true. It's true. Doors open to the courageous. Favor is given to the courageous. Be courageous. I think the way that God said it was, be strong and very courageous. Have I not commanded you? He says, in Joshua chapter 1, he says, have I not commanded you? In other words, it was being commanded to be brave, to be strong and courageous. And he is wanting you to be reminded right now that no matter what kind of bullying spirit, no matter what kind of Goliath stands up in front of you and roars his ugly head at you, choose bravery. He's commanding you. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and be courageous. And he will be faithful to be with you. And it doesn't mean that there won't be a cost. There will be. At times there's a high price for being courageous. Some of the Jewish people probably were hidden in Germans' houses, and they were found. And maybe they were all killed. But can you imagine being the German who hid the Jews and getting murdered, and then that moment where you're coming into that bright light and it's heaven, and you're knowing that the way you died was being courageous? Can you imagine the feeling of doing the right thing, the bold, brave, courageous right thing, and it even costing you your life, but getting into heaven with the awareness that total bravery is what got you there? What a great feeling that would be. But can you imagine being the one that shrinks back in fear and getting into heaven and knowing you shrunk back? I'm going to be brave. I want you to be brave. Let's just do it for 4 weeks. Let's just see. Let's just get through this election and, a little bit after, and just being brave. And then we'll reevaluate. But could you do that? Could you be brave for just 4 weeks? I believe you can. And I believe it's going to be worth it. And I'm proud of you already. Just totally proud of you already. That's all I have for you today. I want to let you know also that I had mentioned during my interview with Special Agent Victor Avila that I was going to be interviewing Greg Stenstrom about his Supreme Court case. And I have had it scheduled twice. I've gotten all ready. I've turned on my lights. I've been sitting in front of the computer, and then he's canceled twice at the last minute. So I'm still trying to get that done, but I don't know. His hands are pretty full with what he's doing with that. So I'm hoping to still bring that interview to you. We'll see. But I just thought you might be wondering, since I had mentioned that in that interview that I was going to be doing that other interview, and then I haven't. That's why he's canceled twice. So we'll see. Hopefully he still will end up doing it with me, because his Supreme Court case is very interesting, and his investigation that he did is fascinating. So I hope I can still bring that to you. But whether or not I get to, I hope you enjoyed today's message, and God bless you, and know that you are loved. See you next time. Bye.
Thanks for watching The Rachel Hamm Show. If you found value in today's content, would you consider giving a gift? Any amount is appreciated, and the links to give are in the description box below this video. Or perhaps you'd like to buy one of Rachel's products so she can continue bringing content like this to you. All the links to purchase her products are in the description box below the video. To find out more about Rachel, you can go to her website, rachelhamm.com. That's Rachel, Hamm.com. See you in the next episode of The Rachel Hamm Show.